Price Shakopee. And this is Matt, I do believe. Matt, thanks for hanging on. You're next up.
Congressman Lewis, I'd like to say thank you. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
We're trying, Matt. Thank you.
All these issues are important. Don't get me wrong. The border issue is important. Healthcare is important. After the last conversation, I really don't need to be forced to have prenatal care as a male. I can't.
You know, by the way, pediatric dental care is one of the so-called benefits that were mandated in Obamacare. Well, what happens if I'm single and I don't have a kid?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm kind of going a different direction here with you. I'm having a hard time recognizing my country. I'm going to give you a couple examples. That's kind of scary. Diamond and Silk, all over the news of how Facebook is saying they're ruled unsafe for their community.
Unfit for the community, yep.
Okay. This reminds me of the IRS targeting nonprofits based on political affiliation. Monkey see, monkey do. Now the private sector is doing exactly what the government did, thinking that it must be the right thing to do. Same with debt. Government can run up trillions of dollars worth of debt. It must be okay for average Joe to do the same. My leaders are doing it. It must be the right thing to do. Then we get into this whole proper pronoun discussion. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to call anybody anymore. I guess I'm just going to call them batch of DNA. I don't know. Whatever.
No. I think there's.
Crazy.
I will tell you. I think you're onto something. To be perfectly honest with you, if you've got senators, Republican and Democrat, who care more about Syria's borders than our borders. You've got Facebook and big tech censoring people, putting on former political advisors in the previous administration on YouTube to censor videos. You've got Facebook blocking the duo you just mentioned because they didn't like their political views. And quite frankly, you've got former Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens arguing to repeal the Second Amendment and the inherent right of self-defense. You've got Representative Slocum in Minnesota mandating a complete registration of every single firearm, and the mayor of London now wants knife control. It is not what your parents or your grandparents would recognize if we keep going down this road.
Not what I recognize. The Second Amendment today is different in almost every different state and community, and the restrictions, and it's crazy. This is absolute craziness. It's almost like somebody turned off the personal responsibility accountability switch. There's none.
Well, the only thing I will tell you is the squeaky wheel gets the grease in politics, and it doesn't help when you've got, quite frankly, a mainstream media that it just appears to be incapable of presenting both sides all the time. So you've got a group of people throwing a collective temper tantrum over the last election. They get a whole lot of coverage. They get all the voices. They control social media. And so people like you simply aren't on the radar screen.
Well, the last thing I will say is watching the attorney-client privilege being breached, whether it's Trump and his lawyer or you and your lawyer, this is crazy. These are things that aren't supposed to happen.
Well, I wasn't going to get into that, but now that you mention it, look, I am very, very troubled by what this... People forget here. We used to have something called an independent counsel statute. Now, that came about in the post-Watergate era because the Congress wanted to make certain that no president was above the law so we could investigate them. So Lawrence Walsh goes on this multi-million-dollar investigation of Reagan and their Iran-Contra. Then Clinton gets in there, and their multi-million-dollar investigation on Whitewater, and that led to Monica Lewinsky. Finally, Clinton and the Republicans got together in the late 90s and said, we've created a fourth branch of government. These independent counsels get out there, and they start going off in any direction with any political bias, and nothing can rein them in. So you know what they did in the late 1990s? They abolished the independent counsel statute. Abolished it. But what remains is something called a special counsel. And that's when the Department of Justice appoints a special counsel who can be dismissed by the DOJ. Unlike the independent counsel, which was almost impossible to be dismissed, the special counsel can be dismissed, but it becomes politically impossible to do so. So now what you have, the cornerstones of due process in America. I want everybody, whether you like Trump or whether you hate Trump, to just listen to this for a second. The cornerstone of due process in America is the ban on unreasonable searches and seizures, the protection of self-incrimination, and, of course, attorney-client privilege. So think of what we're doing in the zeal for political gain. And by the way, you can discount me because I'm a Republican if you want. But I'm basically channeling none other than Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz, who voted for Hillary Clinton, who has been a lifelong liberal Democrat, who's a criminal defense attorney and a professor. And he is extremely troubled by what I just described. Because if we do away, and these warrantless wiretaps, where you present a fake dossier to a secret court to wiretap an American citizen, if you do that, and then you invade attorney-client privilege, how would you like it if your attorney's office and all your communication, which is sacrosanct in our legal system, were taken, which could be viewed. They say they won't, but we don't know. They've got it. And, of course, what's next? Telling people they have to testify against themselves. So much for the Fifth Amendment. So much for the Fourth Amendment. It is becoming very, very trouble. I will say that. And I think we ought to quit criminalizing politics. Just because a Democrat wins doesn't mean a Republican ought to go on an investigation. And just because a Republican wins doesn't mean the Democrats need to criminalize and go on an investigation after investigation. So you got me going there for a second, but I really hope Americans put partisanship aside and think about what's happening there, because I do think it's important. So let's go. Should we go over the poll rather than take another call? Okay, let's go over the poll here.